Hello, Pachucolandia. This is JJ from Alpha Chico Zoot Suits. We're here again for our next episode. We want to introduce to you today Susan Green. Susan Green is a longtime family friend, client of Alpha Chico, Zoot Suit wearer, and Susan is an associate professor at Chico State, Cal State University, Chico, and we want to welcome her. So how are you, Susan?
I'm doing fabulous, JJ. How are you?
Very good, very good. Trying to stay cool in this weather.
Well, and I'm wearing my mask. I'm making sure to be masked up wherever I go in California to keep other people safe.
All right, all right. So, Susan, give us a little bit of your background. I mentioned a little bit, but go ahead and give us what you're doing today and what you're involved in, and what area you or where you were born and raised, and what are you doing today in California?
Sounds great. Well, I probably don't look like the typical zoot suitologist, but that is what I do for a living. I originally came from Minneapolis, Minnesota. I was fortunate enough to graduate from the Chicano Studies department at the University of Minnesota, which is the oldest department in the Midwest. And I came out here to California for the job at Chico State. And so I'm currently Associate Professor of Chicanx and Latinx Studies at California State University, Chico. And I became interested in zoot suits in grad school. And once I read Mauricio Mason's book, The Zoot Suit Riots, I never looked back. It has been my passion ever since. And so it's been a wonderful 22 years up here in Northern California. And I really love what I do. I love working with the young people. I love working with.
All right, all right. Now, I hear a lot of stories about the first time that you came into Alpha Chico Zoot Suits in Fullerton, California, and I'll let you explain that story. But once again, a long time relationship began. So,
well, I had the good fortune to meet the Estrella family when I was doing my dissertation research in Minnesota. I flew out from Minneapolis to the store and had the great honor to interview Phyllis and Ray, and Albert was still alive at the time. And so I had an opportunity to interview him about his experiences as a World War II soldier, what it was like to go to school on the GI Bill to become a jeweler, and then eventually how that evolved into making not just watch chains and crucifixes, but eventually making the suits and the hats and the shoes and everything that go with it, because the chain isn't much good without the suit. And so, like I said, I first met them in the early 1990s. And so it's been a long time friendship, and I really value it.
All right. And so you were writing your thesis, I believe, right? Is that correct?
Correct.
Okay. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and so you flew out from Minnesota to do that interview. That's interesting.
I did, absolutely. And then I went over to UCLA and I did some of the archival research in the Sleepy Lagoon papers over at UCLA and the Carrie McWilliams papers at UCLA. And it's an amazing treasure trove of resources. It's the same resources that Luis Valdez used when he was researching and writing Zoot Suit. And so a lot of great scholars have had an opportunity to look through that, and I was fortunate enough to be one of them.
Wow, that's great. That's great. And now, as far as your experience with Alpha Chico Zoot Suits, now we have some pictures that now everybody make sure you look at the video before, because we'll put some videos up there of you and your Zoot Suit, and you also just recently posted one and sent it to us, and we posted it with your daughter that's now actually fits into your Zoot Suit as well. So yep. Yeah, so now
it's nice. It's nice to be able to pass down the Zoot Suit because I can't fit into it anymore after 2 children, so the children can fit into it instead.
Yeah. Well, we also make those pants so they also you can actually expand them a little bit if you need to. So at least a couple inches. So as far as the Zoot Suit, I mean, now you historically you're pretty much you researched it. So what can you tell us about the Zoot Suit as far as your take, as far as what is the importance in the Chicano, the Mexican American culture?
Well, I mean, I don't think we can overstate it. I don't think there's any time from the late 1800s up until the present when we're not going to find communities of color where young people are wearing the zoot suit. The earliest, iterations of the zoot suit are in blackface minstrel shows in New York, and we see African Americans wearing them on the stage. And they were considered to be a sign of buffoonery and mockery. And eventually they filter out of, the clubs where places like Sammy Davis Jr. performed. And they were wearing them on stage. Cab Calloway was wearing them on stage. And eventually they filtered out into the streets. And they really became the province of Mexican American youth, of African American youth. There was a lot of, cross-cultural mixing that was going on in the clubs and in the dance scene in those days. And so really, like I said, anywhere from the 1800s onward, you can find the zoot suit being popular in somebody's community. We find it all over the world.
All right.
And so, yeah, it is truly an international phenomenon. And it really is something that young people wear. It's more something that we find people of color wearing in various different communities, immigrant communities. For example, in London, these were working class young men who are wearing the zoot suit. And so we can really find the zoot suit traveling a lot of places, but it has been persistent, in the Mexican American community since the 1930s. It has never lost popularity. It really hasn't. It has been almost a century strong as a symbol of Chicano nationalism, and it should be viewed as such.
Yeah, and as we see, it's even as popular today internationally with our customers, and even have been requested to do some of the marches and protests that are going on, is to come out and to wear our zoot suits to show the identifying with a lot of the things that were going on back in what's still existing in the barrios and in our day to day. So it's still a place in history and in the present day for the zoot suits, and we're really happy that we're getting more and more inquiries about that. So.
And I think one of the things about it is that, it's always been a symbol of contestation as well. What young people mean by wearing it and why they like it and why it's cool and it feels great to wear it is very different sometimes than what people ascribe to it. Sometimes there's, scholars and there's, government officials and law enforcement that will ascribe a different meaning to it. But it has always been a symbol of pride. I mean, just pure hard work. It's like the lowrider, your lowrider, your zoot suit, that is hard work because you had to work hard to save the money to buy that, and you want to look good. So all of the mythology surrounding gangs and all of the mythology about the violence connected to zoot suiters is just nonsense. And I think we still see it every year. There'll be some schools who will try to ban it for prom and say young people can't wear it, and that's a real slap in the face of Mexican Americans, African Americans, to young people who want to, create their own sense of identity and have their own pride and their own community spirit. Schools are doing a grave disservice by not letting young people wear the zoot suit at various different occasions.
Yeah, and with prom too, we kind of ran into a little bit of that issue with some schools not allowing them to wear the chain, because they say it's a weapon, and we're like, what? So we try to clarify with those administrations that were saying that at the time, which of course proms were canceled this year, but that was last year. A few students came in and said, oh well, we can wear the zoot suit, we just can't wear the chain because they think it's a weapon. So
that weapon story has been around pretty much as long as the zoot suit has, and it's been nonsense for a long time. And I think now, even in the light of the Black Lives Matter movement and the George Floyd protests, we're having a lot more honest conversations about differential policing, right? And that young people seem to be able to wear pretty much whatever they would like to, and when it comes to brown and black kids, that's not the case. And so those are conversations that we need to have around a much broader discussion of racial justice in the United States.
Yes, we do. Now, I also want to kind of jump into as far as what you do, your profession, and also just the state of education right now with, the COVID-19 and the distant learning, and I mean, you're a professor at a college. So where do you think we're going to go with distance education, and what is your take on what we should be looking for in the future of education?
Well, there's a couple things that I'll say. First of which is I have never been more encouraged about Chicano studies and ethnic studies in the Cal State system and in the high school system. There are currently 2 bills that are going to the governor's desk to be signed that would mandate every California student take an ethnic studies class like Chicano studies, where they would learn about the Zoot Suit riots. And from the Cal State system, they would have to take an ethnic studies class as well. And we've really moved the ball on ethnic studies and making sure that everybody's history is mandatory and not some people's history is an elective. And so we really need to change that. So I think in terms of distance education, I think for students who are facing it, it seems very daunting. But for us, really taking advantage of office hours and really meeting professors one-on-one, face-to-face, just like you and I are doing right now, having those conversations and really getting to know your professors just like you would in office hours is going to make all the difference in the world through the kind of experience that you get in online learning. I mean, I'm a huge proponent of in-person, face-to-face learning. That's the best part of the job, is working with first-generation students who are the first in their family to go to college. Don't let this deter you from going to college and having a good experience, because I promise you, your professors want to see you. They want to hear from you. They want to interact with you. And so I really think the best thing that students can do is just dive in, just like you would have if you had gone to campus in person, because the faculty are still there. And that's what it's really about. It's really about creating those personal relationships. And I'll tell you, back when I started teaching distance ed back in the 1990s at the University of Minnesota, we used to do distance education via mail, and that's snail mail, not email. And we were talking to students over the phone. And so, and that's still an option for us now, for people who don't have good internet access. If you don't have good internet access, if you don't have good connectivity or a hotspot, make sure you reach out to your professors, because we will make it happen for you. We will make sure that we send you the assignments via mail, email, we'll do it on the telephone, whatever it takes to make students successful. And, particularly for RASA, particularly for first generation youth, don't let this opportunity pass you by, and don't use COVID as an excuse not to get in and do the great work that needs to be done for your community.
Right. Great information. I think that's one of the key things, is making sure that if you don't have Wi-Fi and have internet service, to, ask for help, because I think a lot of us, the communities that I live in, that's one of the biggest issues about distance learning, is how do we even log on? So that's great information. Now, Susan, we are reaching, we go on for about 15 minutes. We're reaching there. So I'm going to go ahead and give my little spiel about the store and let everybody know that we are still mailing out your orders. We have not opened up yet, and we're still waiting till that time that we can open up the store. But please keep ordering online for a small Latina-owned business with Phyllis, Estrella, and Ray Jr., Vanessa, and Linda, and myself. We just want to say thank you for all your good wishes that you've been sending, and please, we're still sending out your orders. So if you have any, we have some new information online too through eBay stores. So keep an eye out. We'll be sending out a newsletter soon. So and back to Susan with your lovely Alpha Chico.
Yes, thank you for making those and keeping the community safe. I really appreciate it. You guys are more than just a store. You are a community institution, a keeper of knowledge, a library. You are so much more than just a store. You are a real institution, and you've been doing a great service for the community all these years.
All right. And Susan, now give us, if you have any handles, Instagram, Facebook, let our audience know how to reach you, because I'm sure if they have any follow-up, especially as assistant professor, that can help them out with their education.
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram and Twitter at Doctora Verde 69, Dr. Green 69, and that was because I was born in 1969, at gmail.com, because students always ask. So Doctora Verde 69 at Gmail. And that's my Twitter handle and my Instagram handle as well.
Okay, and then any last parting shots? Anything that?
No, thanks for asking me. It's been great. It's been a lot of fun. Thank you.
And on our behalf, we truly miss you. I'm new to the family, so I just met you, I think, last year when you picked up some cookies from us. But the family has been so much about you to me, and you are one of their clients that they always speak of, and remember you from the first day you stepped in that store.
And bless them for taking in this white kid from Minneapolis, Minnesota, and believing that I was legit, that I really was who I said I was, and that I was really concerned about the Zoot Suit and love it as much as they do.
All right. And we wish you all the best to you and your daughter and your husband, and be safe. And we will talk to you soon, Susan.